Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. We are the franchise guys, as you may or may not know. Hello there, hello. Uh, this week we are doing two movies, and the second one of those two is
Oh,
The Incredibles. I
I'm like, wait a minute, I only watched one movie. I am not ready for a second one.
I watched both of them now. But yes, The Incredibles. Let's get right into it. Go ahead, Andrew. Take it away.
Yes, The Incredibles, directed by Brad Bird.
Yes.
This movie had a $92 million budget, which is about
A little less,
average for
right?
these movies at this point.
Yeah.
Um, $70.5 million opening again, which has been pretty much average for the last couple movies.
Yep.
261 domestic, 631 worldwide. So it did almost 300 million less than what Finding Nemo did
Wow.
before this. That's insane to me.
That is pretty insane.
Um, Getting into some other facts, as we have said in previous episodes, but I feel like it's important to say it again. This is the first and only Pixar movie without the Pizza Planet truck.
Really? Interesting. I
Yes.
never thought about
And
it, but yeah, it's not in there, huh?
it I wonder why they just decided not to put it into this one. Because again, it was in every single one before and after this. So something weird went on there.
Was it in Incredibles 2?
Yep. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
literally it was in every other movie except for this one.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
This next fact I wrote down because I could not believe that this was true.
All
The
right.
movie's line, so when Syndrome says, "You sly dog, you got me monologuing." You remember
Yeah,
that?
I do.
That was voted as the number 15 of the 100 greatest movie lines
Of all
by
time.
a site called Premiere in 2007. And I have to argue that it is not even the best line in this movie.
Yeah, there's some pretty great. It's similar to Finding Nemo. There's a lot of really great, memorable lines in this film.
What is the best line in this film? I mean, there is one right answer, but what is your answer?
Oh man, I, I don't even know what to say honestly to that. What do you think it is? What's your opinion on that?
Where is my super suit?
Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty good.
100%.
Yeah,
That I don't even think like
that whole
that is so,
interaction is pretty great.
yeah, exactly. Like I think that is so much better than what was voted as the number 15.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe that when I saw that.
Yeah. I can
This is
agree.
the only Pixar movie written by one person. This
Oh
film
wow.
was solely written by Brad Bird in the 90s.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and then this is a fact that I knew, and I think this is probably the most interesting fact of this movie. Elastigirl is a character in the DC Comics.
Oh, interesting.
And DC Comics did not like Pixar using the name Elastigirl. So they came to a compromise that now when I say this, she'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I never thought about it until I will say this." Outside of the movie, so promotional material, any action figures, anything else, she is never called Elastigirl.
Really?
Only in the movies. She is known
Wow.
as Mrs. Incredible everywhere else. So in the
Yeah.
parks, in the Disney parks, everything they sell, all of the ads and all that stuff, do not use the words Elastigirl. They call her Mrs. Incredible.
They kind of just slyly pass it off as like, oh, they're married, so. But
Exactly.
yeah.
And I think it's interesting that DC even still let them use that name.
Yeah. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's my favorite fact of this movie. I think it's really interesting. But you know what else I think is interesting,
What's
Connor?
that?
Deleted scenes.
I do too, which is why I like to talk about them every week. So let's check them out. There's one big deleted scene that I looked into that would have changed like the entirety of the movie. Um, so you know the scene in or in the end rather with Syndrome and the baby and all that stuff at the very end.
Hmm.
So originally they planned the film to open with them already married and having Jack Jack already. It doesn't mention them having two other kids at this point, but I imagine they probably did. It's just doesn't
Hmm.
show it in this opening. But the original opening's idea was that we didn't know that they were supers, and so basically it was like them. Let me go forward a little bit here to the actual part, so I can show you guys. So it's them like at a barbecue, trying to just blend in. They're like new to the neighborhood, and you wouldn't know it here, but watching it, but it's them being relocated because they had an incident or whatever, like they have in the movie. So it's them at a barbecue trying to like fit in with the neighborhood, and um, Mrs. Incredible overhears somebody talking about how staying home with a baby is like not a real job or whatever, and so she
Hmm.
starts arguing with somebody at the party, and he overhears them arguing and he accidentally hits his fingers with like a knife, and it looks like he cut his fingers off, but he's Mr. Incredible, so the knife actually bent around his fingers. But some lady saw it and started
Oh.
screaming, and so he's like, ah, my
Let's
hand.
talk
Oh
Cash App.
jeez, that's an ad. He's like, oh, my hand, my hand, and he like pours ketchup on his hand, and like they're like, call an ambulance, and Mr. Incredible's like, no, I'll take him, and then so they rush out of the party, and get back or like drive away towards the hospital, but in reality they just drive away back home. And then
Hmm.
later that evening, uh, when they're at home, they're sleeping, and a robber breaks into their house. And Mr. Incredible walks out into the living room and sees a bag full of like all their stuff, and he goes, "Don't move." And the robber just like stands there, and he's like, "You really taking all my silver?" And he like opens the bag and like puts it on the floor, and then the robber turns around, or like he reaches in the bag to take the stuff out, and he gets electrocuted. The robber turns around, pulls off his mask, and it's Syndrome, and he's like electrocuted on the floor, all like knocked out kind of, and apparently in this little opening, Syndrome is just like an old arch nemesis, and after he got relocated, Syndrome's like one goal was to find them so he could take his revenge on them. Um, and so he like uses the little finger like ray that he has in the movie where he can like freeze people to like use Bob as like a battering ram to destroy his house. And then he ends up finding or hearing that they have a baby, and so he's like starts pulling them towards the room with the baby, and Jack like throws up on his face or whatever, and like he gets all stunned, and then Mr. and Mrs. Incredible escape, and the house blows up. So that was like their original plan for the opening, and I think that
Interesting.
it would have been really hard to like go somewhere else with this. And apparently, I don't know if you saw this in the fun facts or not, but I learned this from this deleted scene. Originally, the guy who wrote a different villain. There was like an
Hmm.
entirely different villain.
Yes,
Um,
I did see that.
yeah, he just liked the idea of having like an arch nemesis from your past whose only goal is to like find out where you live and come kill you in your house. And then everybody that watched this scene ended up liking Syndrome and his concept more than the actual villain that he wrote in the movie. So they used him instead of the other one. I don't know where this would have gone, but I definitely don't think it's as good as the one that we have now.
I
But
think I think it was right by the studio because I think Syndrome is a really good villain.
yeah, I think so too. The fact that we meet him so early on, and like you can really, if you just watch his development, you can really tell where he comes from, and like you can kind of
Hmm.
sympathize with why he's so like, angry at
Yeah.
supers. But yeah, I like that whole thing with him. And then there's a couple other ones. These two are kind of related. So the guy that gives Mrs. Incredible the most like weaponized commuter plane in the world,
Yeah.
uh, Snug was like apparently one of her oldest friends or whatever, who was a pilot. And originally planned, they wanted him to be in the movie and have screen time so that we had a little bit of an emotional connection to the character. So that when he died in the explosion of the plane, getting hit by the missiles, we were like sad. So originally it was planned for him to, meet up with them at the airport, be all friendly with her. The kids start to like him. He starts flying them to the island, and then they get blown up and he dies. Um, and then the other scene was just they had a scene where they wanted to kind of humanize the military guys that were working for Syndrome by showing them flying a bunch of these so-called Vipers over the crash site to try to find any survivors to kill them.
Gotcha.
But that was kind of a waste of animation and screen time.
Yeah.
And then there's one scene that kind of goes a little bit deeper into the relationship between um, Dash and his teacher. But I mean, it's again kind of like a waste of screen time. The whole interaction they
Hmm.
had was already good enough, in my opinion. But it's just him terrorizing his teacher, basically, which would have been funny, but
Yeah.
not necessary. And then um, one of the goals of the movie, which is pretty obvious, is to like make it seem like the world had given up on Mr. Incredible and they didn't need him anymore. He didn't have a place in society anymore. And they had a scene written that would have made that a lot more intense in his mind. Was the time where he was driving home from his office job towards the beginning of the movie. He would have been stuck in traffic, and he hears a police chase happening behind him. That's like a motorcycle being chased by two motorcycle cops, and
Hmm.
so he like jumps out of his car, clotheslines the guy, picks him up, and goes, "Here you go, officers. I helped you out." And then as soon as the officers walk up, they kind of like push him away and go, "This is a police business or police matter, sir. Please step back." And then he was like, "I'm just trying to help." And then the other cops like, "We have a problem here." Like they were like just kind of like not like pushing him off and stuff like that. And it was just him
Hmm.
getting like really pissed off about that and kind of feeling like he was even more hated by society, which I thought could have been useful, but also is kind of like it didn't have a great place to fit anywhere in my opinion. Also,
Yeah.
and then lastly, this scene I don't think is useful at all. But after she finds that blonde hair strand on his jacket, she like confronts him about it, and he makes up an excuse. It's kind of pointless. They even talk about it in the thing like a lot of people had the same feedback of like, why is this in a kids movie?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's what I thought. I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Because, like, we know what's happening.
Yeah,
Kids don't need to know what's happening.
exactly. That's kind of like one of those subtle like, if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I got, man. Let's get into it.
Well, first, I should say, what did you think about The Incredibles?
Yes, I love this movie. It is. I keep saying that every week, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to love
I
these
mean,
movies.
that's Pixar.
um, I have always loved the ideas of superheroes. I can still remember watching this as a kid and being like all amazed by all the different fight scenes and things like that. The ending scene in New York, or I think it's New York. I always adored those like fight scenes and everything.
Hmm.
And then there's always going to be that emotional connection to like growing up desiring a sequel and then finally getting it.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that when we actually watch the second one, but
Yes.
yeah, that's how I feel about it. How about you?
I mean, this movie is great. Like, it's been said to death, but this is easily the best Fantastic Four movie ever made. Not a high bar, but still, like, this sets that bar so high.
Yep.
Um, I am usually not someone who takes a lot of notice to the score of
Mm,
a movie,
yep.
but dude, the score in this movie is
So
so
good.
good. It is so good.
Yeah, I actually
Um,
when I first like turned it on, I like heard that da na 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 na, and I was like, oh my god, that like gave me like freaking flashbacks, dude.
yeah, it just instantly takes you there.
Yep, right away.
Um, and then Syndrome is such a good villain because, like you said, like you get it. You
Yep,
get why he hates these supers who have essentially turned their back to him.
yep.
It's so good, man. It's just so good.
Syndrome is the Iron Man and Batman of this universe, but just
Yes.
angry.
Yes. Want to get into the plot now?
Let's do it.
All right. So we open with Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and Frozone being interviewed on some sort of TV show, and they're talking about how great superhero life is. Nothing can go wrong after this.
Nope, of course not.
Then we jump to there's a police chase happening. There's gunshots flying throughout the city. It just no regard for human life at all
Nope.
from cops or the people who all they did was steal something. Like I don't think they're trying to add murder to their charges.
They're just blasting through city blocks, though.
Yeah, they sure are. Bob Parr, in a very, very James Bond-esque fashion, begins to track this pursuit, and his car turns into this like badass sports car. And he puts on the suit and becomes Mr. Incredible.
Yep.
As he is driving towards this pursuit, the most suicidal old lady just runs right in front of his car, speeding at 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
Because her cat is stuck in a tree. Because that's important right now.
Very important.
And while he because he's such a good guy, he decides to help her. Ends up using the tree to stop the pursuit. After he gets it back into his car, and who's in there? Buddy. His biggest fan. He wants to be a superhero so bad. And what does Mr. Incredible do? He just kicks him out of the car. He's like, "Get out of here, you little twerp." And he hears of a robber, and he goes and finds that robber. And then Elastigirl beats him to it.
Yep.
They have a very sexually charged conversation, and she leaves because she has a previous engagement. I wonder what that could be.
I don't know.
What I liked about this scene is when the dude got up, he's like, "Hey man, she got me."
She got me. Yeah. I died that too every time. It makes me laugh so hard.
A little bit later, Mr. Incredible saves a man who jumped off a building trying to kill himself. Very clearly hurting the guy in the process, which will be important. But he just happens to go through the window that, I'll tell you, this villain's name. I love I love the names in this movie. They're so stupid that you can totally see it in a comic book movie. Bomb Voyage.
Heck yeah, dude.
Like, it's so on the nose, but it's so good.
I know. With the mime face paint and everything.
Yes, and I love the way he's like, "Mr. Incredible."
Mr. Incredible.
and when Buddy flies in, "Huh?"
Incredible. He's just trying at any chance to just make fun of them at any given chance.
And honestly, they kind of deserve it.
Yeah, they do.
Buddy flies in with rocket boots and pretty much just acts as a distraction.
Yep. And almost gets murdered.
He's like, "Okay, I'll go get the cops," for some reason. And Bon Voyage throws a bomb on him, and Mr. Incredible, obviously, he doesn't want this stupid kid to die.
Yeah.
Chases after him and eventually gets the bomb off of him while they are in the air. The bomb falls and blows up some train tracks. And in very Spider-Man fashion, Mr. Incredible stops the train before it goes off of the rails.
Sure does.
And then he finally shows up to, it looks like a chapel. He still has his mask on. His friend Lucius has to tell him, "Dude, take off the mask. Like, what are you doing?"
Come on, man.
And he is getting married to
To
Elastigirl,
none other.
Helen. Yes. And then after that, we see that he is getting sued by the
Yep.
dude that he saved. And this just brings in a flood of just lawsuits all over the place.
Yep.
For all of these superheroes. Mr. Incredible is being sued not only by the suicide guy, but also the train
Regarding the
people.
train accident, yep.
Yes, and eventually the government is like, look, we can't have superheroes anymore. Y'all gotta leave.
Yep.
Um,
Go into
so
hiding
then
or leave.
Yep, they all go into hiding, which makes me wonder, like, if you are a supervillain and all of the superheroes are gone and you know they're gone, why wouldn't you just up the ante?
Yeah, just go hard in the
Like, you know,
paint.
cops can't stop you at
Yeah,
that point.
obviously Bon Voyage was doing a pretty good job, you know?
Yeah, he got away from Mr. Incredible. Like,
Yeah.
these cops aren't going to do anything.
Nope. I was gonna say, I always I appreciate kind of the similarities in a lot of these superhero movies in like Marvel and stuff like that, where there's like an issue with superheroes that like regular people have in like X-Men and things like that. I like that idea. It's a really good
and
idea.
it like makes sense because like from the outside looking in, you're like, these people are just destroying everything.
Yeah, they're just destroying buildings. Even in like the last fight scene of this movie, like there's probably millions of dollars of property damage in that scene.
Oh
alone.
yeah, easily. Billions.
Yeah, easily billions.
The years pass and we see poor Bob. He's working a desk job in insurance. So literally bottom barrel, worst thing that you can do.
You know, I don't know if you knew this or not. I had to look it up because I was curious, but the lady he's helping is the same one whose cat he saved. Did you catch that?
Yes.
I did not know that for the longest time until this watching.
And then he kind of gets chewed out by his boss because he's actually helping people.
Yep.
And his boss doesn't want him to help people.
Of course not.
Then we jump to Helen Parr, who is in the principal's office with Dash, their son, because he's kind of being a dick.
Yeah,
he put a attack on his teacher's chair and was caught on videotape.
Yep.
He still got away with it.
Still got away with it.
He still got away with it.
He's just a badass.
He is. They're like, you can leave. This teacher's insane. Then we jump to Violet the first time we see her, which is the daughter.
Yep.
And she's just creepily stalking this very average, boring looking person.
Yep.
He's like nothing special he has no personality.
To me,
he doesn't have I don't get it. But
he looks like the son of the robber from the bus scene. Him and the other guy looks exactly the same to me.
You're right. Bob arrives home after work. He slips on a skateboard and he just pretty much destroys the hood, the top of his car in the window. Yep. And then he picks it up and almost throws it on a little child.
Naturally.
Of course. At the dinner table, Helen makes Dash tell Bob what happened, and Bob gets really excited because he's like, holy shit, dude, he got you on camera and you still got away?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell that he wants them to be able to use their powers very badly.
Definitely.
Dash and Violet begin to fight, and she punks the shit out of Dash.
She sure does. Hey, no force fields.
Yeah, and like he's using super speed. Like I think she has every right to use her powers to her full extent.
100%.
It kind of gets out of hand, and then Lucius arrives, and everything kind of goes back to normal. And then him and Bob leave, and instead of going bowling like they said they were going to, they go and watch or listen to police scanners.
Yep.
And Lucius doesn't like this. He's sick of it. He's sick of Bob's shit. Bob needs to grow up.
Honestly.
There's a fire and they go and save all the people inside. The building comes down. And they end up in a jewelry store. The funny thing is that they're wearing ski masks.
Yep.
Because they wanted to hide their identities.
They look like
people
robbers.
Didn't know they were superheroes, but now they look like robbers.
The I want to
Cop
get a
comes
drink
in.
scene
Yeah.
kills me every time. I'm
It's
just
so
getting a
good.
drink. I said
I'm
freeze.
thirsty. Lucius freezes the cop, and they get away. And this is always a scene that I will go back to because there's a weird debate that I've seen of who is more powerful, Frozone or Elsa. And it's not even a question.
I would say
that
Elsa
is more powerful.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, look at what Elsa built. She built an entire fucking castle.
And like, Lucius needs water in his body.
Although she did build that in the middle of a winter area, so there was a lot of snow and ice.
Caused by her though. She literally created it though.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yes, we will. I sure hope so. Helen finds out that Bob was pretty much just trying to relive his glory days. They start to argue. And this scene is just so real.
I know. Yeah.
Like the kids are like watching but trying to hide, like act like they're not listening.
Yep.
It's such a good scene because it's just so real.
It's realistic for sure.
Yeah. Bob is back at his job and again being chewed out by his boss, who he's just a little weasel. I hate him so much.
He's the worst character ever.
Someone is getting mugged outside. The boss is like, I hope we don't cover him. And then Bob wants to go help him. Bob almost leaves. His boss is like, if you leave, you're fired. And then Bob essentially just kills him.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just throws him through walls and just murders the dude. Honestly deserved. I think he should be acquitted.
Agreed. 100%.
Bob is now back in his home office. He's dumping all of his work stuff in the trash because he got fired. And there's an iPad in there. And it starts like verifying him in the room. And we see Mirage come on the screen. And she's talking about this thing that they need help with, some technology that has pretty much become sentient. And they need him to help stop it. And they offer 3 times his annual salary for 1 day's of work.
Yep.
How could you not say no?
Literally, you couldn't say no. Because he knows he can do it, so...
Exactly. He tells Helen that he's going to go on a conference. And he just leaves to Nomanisad Island.
Yep.
Now, Connor, do you know what that is a play off of?
I do not.
No Man's Land.
Oh.
In fact, if you go on Google Docs right now and you type the way No Man's Land Island is spelled, it will autocorrect itself to No Man's Land.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah. I didn't realize that until watching this. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
I remember thinking that name has to mean something, but I couldn't, it was so quick in my head that I didn't think about anything past that. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mr. Incredible's on his way there, and then he's ejected to the island after kind of getting a little bit more of a debriefing. And then he comes face to face with the Omnidroid 9000. Yep. And they're fighting their way through. They go into this volcano. He fucks up his back. And while it's trying to rip him apart, it accidentally fixes his back.
Yep.
And Mr. Incredible pretty much maneuvers himself inside of the Omnidroid, and it destroys itself, practically.
Yep.
So easy 3 times annual salary for him.
Easy money.
After his success, he has dinner with Mirage in the most stupid, impractical, but the coolest room
in
ever.
Existence. Yep.
It's just so... And whenever I play games like Minecraft or something like that, I always try to make like lava walls like this. And this watchthrough made me realize why I love those so much, because it just looks so cool.
It is pretty awesome.
And I'll tell you, when they're talking, they're making a lot of innuendos.
Yeah.
They
They're about to
are
throw down right on the table, bro.
yeah, they are. They're very close. And I'll tell you, he would destroy her.
Yeah. No question.
Yeah. With his newfound confidence, Bob's physical and mental health are very greatly improved. You can see he's so much happier now.
Way skinnier, way happier.
Yeah, he loses a bunch of weight, and he is starting to like care a little bit more, and his family life is a lot better.
My question is what, like, okay, so she contracted him to defeat that robot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see like probably like a month or two go by of him working for them. What the hell is he doing? What is he doing with them? Is he just fighting those robots?
I think he only did that one job.
Oh, do you think he's just leaving every day to
like when he's leaving, I think he's going and working out and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the only other time he goes is the next time we see him go.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But he heads to Edna Mode's house, and she calls him fat, which
right away.
I mean, he does have a weirdly proportioned upper body, but I don't think he's fat.
No. He was, but he's not now, at least in this scene.
Exactly. He brought his costume that was ripped during the last battle with the Omni Droid, and she obviously is like, oh, okay, you're doing this again? I'll just make you a new suit. And he wants a cape. And Connor, hit me with the one rule.
No capes.
No capes.
Foreshadowing.
Yes, it is. And then we go through this really funny montage of just all of these superheroes who were killed because they had capes.
Yep.
Back at home, like you had said earlier, Helen finds a long white hair on Bob's clothes, and then she listens in on his phone call because he's like freaking out, telling her not to answer it. You literally could not be more suspicious.
Yeah.
So because she isn't a complete moron, she knows something's up.
Yep.
Helen, after Bob is gone, Helen is vacuuming the house, and she goes into Bob's office to vacuum. And because apparently there's like nuts and bolts on the floor. I don't know what the hell she was picking up there.
A lot of stuff.
Crazy. But she notices that his suit was patched.
Yep.
And since there's only one person he would ever go to, she of course calls Edna.
Yes.
And Edna just straight up doesn't listen. She's like, "Come over. We have new suits for you."
Yeah.
We jump back to the island. Mr. Incredible is fighting. He goes into a conference room, and there's nobody there. He has no idea what's going on. Door opens. There's another Omni Droid. And then we start hearing this voice. It's bigger. It's badder.
Yep.
And who is it? It's Buddy.
It's Buddy.
Although he doesn't like being called Buddy anymore. It's it's Syndrome now.
Syndrome.
And then he tells Mr. Incredible that he has been making these to try to kill him, pretty much. Like that is his goal with these. Is like at least one of his goals with them is to kill Mr. Incredible with it, because obviously the shunning of Buddy back then hurt him so much that now he just wants to murder people.
Yep.
Buddy is caught monologuing and almost gets crushed by a tree trunk that is thrown by Mr. Incredible.
Yep.
And he even knows. He's like, "Hey, you caught me monologuing, man." Yep. Like, Mr. Incredible then he gets away and he jumps off of a waterfall, and he discovers the remains of the hero Gazer Beam and something carved into the walls, Kronos.
Yep.
We then jump back to Edna's house, and we get this great montage. Not really montage, but just she's showing all of the suits that she's made for Jack, her, Dash, and Violet. But as she says, Jack Jack doesn't have any powers, so
Yep.
he doesn't need a suit, obviously.
But they covered everything just in case.
Exactly, and boy howdy are they lucky that they did.
Yeah, sure are.
But that's a spoiler.
Yep.
Mr. Incredible makes his way eventually to Syndrome's base. He breaks into the giant computer room that is through the giant, stupid lava walls. And Kronos turns out to be the password to the computer. And this is where you just see like the absolute
Saddest.
devastation
Yeah.
of what Syndrome has done. He just murdered like 30 supers just
Just testing.
for experiments.
Yeah.
Helen then calls Bob's old job and finds out that he was fired. I think they said 2 months ago. And that he's actually not at a conference. So what does she do? She uses the tracker that is conveniently built into all of the suits. And this is where it gets confusing. Why?
No idea.
Why is the tracker the thing that sets off the room?
My guess is that in a room like this, they wouldn't want any unwanted signals going in or out. So it's probably like plated or something. And so any kind of signal that goes in or out would trip an alarm, I'd imagine. That was my thought process on it. Because I also thought the same thing. I was like, why the hell is that going to trigger an alarm?
I'll accept that.
Yeah. It's kind of
so
acceptable.
Yeah, it goes off and he is just shot with all of these really, really sticky black balls that are like growing around him.
I love that idea, honestly. I think it's really cool.
That part always like those balls always creeped me out.
Fair enough.
Because like it looked like they were like getting way bigger, but then a lot of them weren't getting bigger, and it was just so weird. And then he's captured once he is immobile. Helen is very distraught, and Edna's like, "You're a superhero. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And slaps her around and convinces her to go confront Bob and fight him, apparently, even though, like, I don't know if violence is the way to go, but maybe.
Well, if you're getting cheated on, you just beat the shit out of your spouse. That's how it works, right?
True. So she gets she calls in a favor with her friend, and she gets a jet. And she sets off for Nomanisad Island. During the trip, she gets this weird feeling because no one is answering her. So she changes into her suit. She throws the bag down onto a seat and discovers that Violet and Dash stowed away on the plane. And they left Jack Jack with
a babysitter.
Carrie.
She's so adorable.
She's so funny.
I know. I wish my players played No Sour when I was a baby.
I don't know what people are saying half the time. Back to where Bob, Mr. Incredible, is being held. Syndrome is beginning to like mock him, and he plays the distress signal that Helen is not even distress signal, like
a landing permission, right?
The landing stuff, the landing thing, and he shoots down the plane.
Fires a bunch of missiles at him.
Yep, fires a bunch of missiles, and it explodes with the plane after Violet is not able to put a force field around the plane because you can't put that kind of pressure on a 15-year-old girl because that's fucked up.
Who's never used her powers before.
Yeah, exactly. They survive, thankfully, but Bob, Mr. Incredible, thinks that they died.
We survived, but we're dead.
Yes. That while in the water below, Dash is like freaking out.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I would be too.
Understandable, for sure.
Mr. Incredible then musters up the strength, tries to grab Syndrome, but grabs Mirage instead, and threatens to snap her like a toothpick. He doesn't give a shit. He's just like, okay, do it.
Do it, you won't.
Like, okay. Sure, he he knew he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Mr. Incredible doesn't have the balls to do that, but also that's kind of messed up.
Yeah. Shows his character and how demented he is, so.
Exactly. Like, he doesn't care.
Nope.
Elastigirl shapes herself into a boat,
Somehow.
and Dash uses his legs like a motor, and they head toward the island where the rockets came from.
I really studied her body shape when she was in that boat because I just wanted to know how the hell that worked, and I'm convinced that they just deleted her arms from this scene and just put her head on a boat model and then colored the boat model red and black.
You know what's funny? I was looking for her arms as well, and I was like, I wonder if they used her arms as like the seats. I couldn't find them either. I didn't know where her arms were either.
They were just gone. There's only really one seat, and it's Violet's just kind of sitting there. I don't even think she's sitting on a seat. I think she's just sitting on her back.
Yeah, I think she's just sitting there.
I don't have an answer. I don't want an answer, honestly.
Once they are on the island, they make a small little camp inside of a cave. And Elastigirl tells them that the bad people on this island, they're not here to mess around. They're not gonna go easy on them because they're kids. They're going to kill them.
This scene was a very good telling of her character and how good of a mom she was, because she could have easily just been like, yeah, it's bad guys, you should fight them, but she was down to earth and like, these guys will kill you. You should use your powers to your fullest extent.
It made it more real, especially like as a kid watching. You're like, oh, like this is like actual danger.
Yeah, for sure.
Helen leaves and she makes her way for the base. And Dash decides, I'm just gonna walk around because I don't care about my life. And a rocket is then launched with the Omni droid inside of it. And the fire from that rocket is going through that tunnel that they're staying in, and it almost kills Dash and Violet. But Dash is able to get them out of there quick enough. Helen is making her way through the base. She checks out her ass a few times in this.
Like we all wanted, honestly.
In these scenes, and just like anybody else watching this, like, how could you not look?
She is the thickest Pixar mom. It's been decided, literally.
Yeah, she is.
There was a poll and people decided it was her.
Yeah, she is. And since she's elastic, she can change anything she wants.
She sure can.
It is now morning, and the kids are like, we don't know where mom is. And they see a bird who, it's not a bird. Nope. It's a camera, and it starts to set off an alarm when it does not recognize who the kids are. And that just alerts pretty much the whole island to their presence. Mirage ends up setting Mr. Incredible free, and after he almost kills her, tells him that his family is alive. He then hugs her right when Helen walks in. She just decks Mirage right in the head.
That punch is so satisfying every fucking time I watch it.
She deserved it. Really, she did.
Honestly.
Dash is about to be lit up. Like, they're just surrounding him, guns drawn. They're ready to just light him up.
Yep.
And he just starts running. Runs through bugs, runs through everything. Even on top of water. Like a badass.
True badass, dude.
That scene when he realizes that he's on the water is so good.
I know. It always reminds me of the Sonic when you run on the water in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Exactly.
I don't know why, but I love that scene.
Dash again then is about to be blindsided by bullets, and then Violet saves the day by putting a force field around him, and they start to run with the force field like it's a little hamster ball.
Great scene.
And then they run into Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, and the family's all back together finally.
Yep.
They defeat all the henchmen that is after them, and they make their way back to the base, where they use a rocket and a Winnebago to make their way back to where the Omni droid dropped off. Like you had said earlier, I think it's New York. I think it's implied it's a New York adjacent city,
Yeah,
but I don't think they ever give the city a name
I don't think so either.
as as far as I know, but I think it's New York as well.
Definitely looks like it for sure.
Yes. The city is being destroyed by the Omni Droid. And then we get probably the best scene in the movie with "Where's my super suit?"
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing else inside of Pixar that I can think of that is more quoted than that. Maybe
No.
Kitty, but
I think Super Suit's the most quoted one.
I think so too. Especially, it's just so funny. It's so iconic.
Yep. The way I am your wife. I'm the greatest good you will ever have.
It's
Or you're ever
so
gonna get.
good. Everything about that scene is so good.
Yep.
Syndrome is fighting the Omni Droid. He's trying to make himself look like a badass. He just looks like a dweeb,
Punches
honestly.
it and then the arm falls off. It's like, bro, come on.
And the droid is like, wait, I don't have to take I don't have to take this from this freaky little redhead. And he just shoots the controller off of his hand and destroys one of Syndrome's rocket boots. He hits a wall and he gets knocked out.
Yep.
So he was just real easy to defeat.
Immediately.
The Incredible Family, they land the Winnebago and they begin to fight the Omni Droid together. Bob is stuck in one of the hands. Once he gets out, they use the remote that Syndrome had dropped to fly the hand into the Omni Droid like a dagger and just instantly destroys it.
Immediately.
Syndrome is back at the Parr household and has Jack tries to kidnap him, and on his way up, things don't go as planned. Jack
sure
actually does have powers, and I didn't write it down. Let me see if I can remember what happens. He lights himself on fire.
Yeah, so
and
he
then
starts out on fire.
Really heavy.
Yeah, and he turns to iron and he like drops.
And then he does the demon, right?
Yeah, he turns into a little devil and starts ripping his hair out and stuff like that.
And then Syndrome was like, fuck this, and just drops the kid.
He's like, bye, nerds.
Yeah, and then instantly Jack becomes a good little baby again and just laughing. Once Jack is safe, Mr. Incredible throws his car at Syndrome's plane, just killing him. Why even mess around? Let's just kill him.
Cape gets sucked into the engine vortex thing.
Yes, he gets sucked into the engine of his plane and he dies.
Tragic.
And then it blows up their house. Their house is just gone.
And Violet saves them.
What was that?
I said, and Violet saves them with a force field.
Yes, and Violet saves them with the force field as everything comes down.
Heck yeah.
We skip ahead some time. Violet gets asked out by the most boring dude in the world, and Dash is now playing sports, and I love this scene. We're like, close second, like just come in close.
The guy like looks at them. He's like, close second. And he's like, what the hell?
And he's like, what the hell is going on? After the race, everything's going well. Then the Underminer appears.
The Underminer.
The family slowly puts their mask on. And I'll tell you, it takes them 14 years to put this goddamn mask on, because it took us 14 years to see what happens here.
Yep.
But that's The Incredibles.
I was gonna say it when I first watched that part. I immediately questioned. I was like, was this the first movie that had like a really like strong setup for a number 2 out of the Pixar franchise? Toy Story kind of has one with the dog, right? But like,
yeah, I think this is definitely the most clear, like, we are going to make another one.
Yeah, and then they just didn't.
I don't remember how Cars ends.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
well, no, I'm
think
saying
it was set up.
The first one that we've watched.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would say that, yeah, for sure.
Like I guess realistically the first one, like in like the order of them being made, this was the first one to have
Yes,
like a
yes, yes,
really
yes.
clear like we're gonna make a second one. It's gonna happen.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think very easily. This is like such an easy setup to go right into number 2, and it just takes them 14 years to do it.
Yep. And
But
I dare to say before we move on a little bit,
mhm,
these credits are like on par with Monsters Inc. level like design.
they
They're
are
so
very
good.
good.
They're so good.
I would agree with that. I think definitely for end credits, I think it's probably the best end credits.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that is The Incredibles.
are you ready for the hard part now?
I sure am. I already have an idea, so let's get into it.
All right, let's bring up that list real quick.
List is up.
I'll read off the list.
All right.
So
number
far,
5.
number 5, Toy Story 1. Number 4, A Bug's Life. Number 3, Toy Story 2. Number 2, Finding Nemo. Number 1, Monsters Inc. Connor, where does The Incredibles land?
I will say this, and I hope you'll agree with me. It's gonna be number 3 at least. The hard thing is gonna be whether or not it's 2 or 1. It's gonna be number 3. That's the lowest it's gonna go on this list for me.
Okay.
But the really hard part is, does it beat Finding Nemo? And then the even harder part is, does it beat Monsters Inc.? I don't know. Let's talk about it. What do you think?
I will say that I don't want to live in a world where this isn't at least number 2.
I can agree with that. I can agree. I do love Finding Nemo, and like we said last week, it's very quotable and very memorable. But this movie, I would say is probably better than Finding Nemo in my mind. So
like, if I was gonna watch one, 9 times out of 10, I'm picking Incredibles.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Same here. Oh,
but now,
let's get it on there, shall we?
Is it better than Monsters Inc.?
That's the question. And if I had to give you my answer, it would be no. I think that if in the same scenario, if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably choose Monsters Inc.
I think I agree. I think The Incredibles, if we're really boiling it down as to why Monsters Inc. is better, I don't think Monsters Inc. or I don't think The Incredibles hits that emotional, like it's not as emotional.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
You don't have that, like, you never get that feeling like, oh my god, like, why is this, I don't want this to happen.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. Definitely doesn't hit your like sad or upset emotions, which I mean some people might not like that, but I definitely agree that it's definitely not nearly as emotional as Monsters Inc. and it doesn't hit as hard.
Yeah, and I think Monsters Inc. is funnier.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
I think it's a much tighter movie than The Incredibles is. I think Incredibles could have cut maybe 10 to 15 minutes out of it, and it would probably be a better movie. But
maybe, yeah.
I like it at number 2 for now. I definitely don't think it goes below Finding Nemo.
No, definitely not.
I can see an argument for above Monsters Inc., but I can't, in good consciousness, put it above Monsters Inc.
I cannot either, and therefore it shall not be.
So our new rankings: number 6, Toy Story. Number 5, A Bug's Life. Number 2, Toy Story 2. Number 3, I messed up.
Yeah, right there.
No, I'm not. The numbers are hard, dude. The
numbers are hard. Very hard. Yeah,
it's gonna get so much harder when we start throwing in Toy Story 3 and 4 in there. It's gonna get.
Would you like me to read it?
Let me try this again.
Okay, I'll let you try again.
Number 6, Toy Story 1. Number 5, A Bug's Life. Number 4, Toy Story 2. Number 3, Finding Nemo. Number 2, The Incredibles. Number 1, Monsters Inc.
Back-to-back weeks. Love to see it.
Connor, what are we watching next?
Next week, like we always do, we're doing 2 movies, and those 2 movies are going to be Cars 1 and Ratatouille. I haven't seen
1 and Ratatouille.
I also haven't seen either one of these in a long time. Ratatouille more recently, because I mentioned I saw it at work, but Cars has been a long time for me.
I have only seen both of these movies once.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
I've probably seen Cars like maybe 3 to 5 times, and Ratatouille probably like a little bit less than 10 times, just because it's a more recent movie. Ratatouille, it's not more recent, but I've seen it more recently, a lot.
Should we put a date on these?
It kind of feels like a more recent movie for some reason. Ratatouille feels like it came out like a couple years ago, but it's been what?
Honestly,
13,
after
years?
Ratatouille, it just feels like things aren't as like Toy Story 3 came out before Cars 2 or Brave. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right?
But what days are we gonna be doing this, Connor?
Let's take a look and see, shall we? I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very similar dates to what we've been doing this whole time. Okay. Probably. Hold on. My password's not working. I'm not going to reset it now. I'm just going to see if I have a screenshot. Okay. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing Monday, and then I probably can't do Thursday because I'll be doing that special thing that I can't talk about. So we might have to go for Saturday if you can do Saturday.
Maybe. As of right now, I would say we are guaranteed to do at least one next week.
Yeah. So we definitely don't have to do 2, but
yeah,
we're definitely gonna do
keep
Cars.
You guys posted on the second one, but Monday, Cars 1.
Yes, Monday for sure, Cars, and then we'll see what happens with the rest of the week.
It is set. Thank you everybody for watching. Please, if you enjoyed, please go ahead and follow us, subscribe, whatever you want to do.
It's the Franchise Guys everywhere on everything except Twitter. CFG Reviews.
Yes,
we appreciate you. It's all good. But yes, thanks again, guys, and we'll be back Monday with Cars. See you later.